What's up, everybody? Professor Pools here. Today we're going to be talking about a very important question since the release of Twilight Masquerade, and that is, do pull rates affect the values of cards? Since the beginning of the Scarlet and Violet era, we saw special illustration rare pull rates of around 1 in 32. That means in about 32 packs you would pull one special illustration rare. Now moving forward to Temporal Forces and Twilight Masquerade, the special illustration rare pull rates are 1 in 86. That means on average you need to open 56 more packs to pull a single special illustration rare. With the old Scarlet and Violet pull rates, you would pull 2, maybe even 3 special illustration rares in the same amount of packs. So the big question is, how is that affecting the current values of cards from Twilight Masquerade and Temporal Forces? Today we're going to be going into exactly that. We're going to compare top chases from the various Scarlet and Violet era sets, compare their pull rates, and then see what the values are. Now, obviously, some cards are better than others. There's other factors affecting the card's value, like the playability of the card, sentiment towards the Pokemon, and just the artwork in general, if people really are appealed to the artwork or not. Now, because of that, we're going to compare artworks of cards that are very similar, like the Paldean Fates Charizard, the Obsidian Flames Charizard, and also the Greninja Special Illustration Rare from Twilight Masquerade. These 3 cards are good examples because they have drastically different pull rates and also drastically different prices. We'll also compare some lower-end Special Illustration Rares because I think they're an important topic as well. This comparison will only apply to Special Illustration Rares and not Illustration Rares because currently the pull rates for Illustration Rares have not changed across the Scarlet and Violet era set. It takes around 13 packs to pull an illustration rare. The only thing that makes it more difficult to pull a specific illustration rare from a set is how many there are in that set. Some have about 20 or so, and some have upwards of 36 illustration rares. Now we're about to get into the pull rates of the top chases from the various Scarlet and Violet era sets, but before we do, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to show your support and be the first to know when there's a new Pokemon investing or news video published. It's important to talk about just how much the special illustration rare pull rates have changed since the beginning of the Scarlet and Violet era. For the first 4 sets, Scarlet and Violet base set, Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flames, and 151, the special illustration rare pull rates were on 1 in 32. Paradox Rift late last year changed that, and it went to 1 in 47, which was a pretty minimal change, and I don't think people really noticed it, since it only took an extra 15 packs or so to pull the top chases, such as the Roaring Moon or the Iron Valiant. Flash forward a few months to Paldean Fates, the pull rates changed even more to 1 in 58 for a special illustration rare. Again, even though it made it a little bit more hard to pull a special illustration rare, people didn't really seem to be too concerned with this since the pull rates of it being a special set made it so you could pull baby shinies and other things much more frequently. As far as Paldean Fates goes, you're pretty much getting a hit out of a pack every 1 in 2 packs. So the special illustration rare pull rates made something a little bit more chaseable since there was only 3 Pokemon special illustration rares and 4 trainer special illustration rares. Flash forward to March, Temporal Forces, that is when things really changed and became a hot topic in the Pokemon community. When TCG Player posted their pull rate data, they saw that the special illustration rare pull rates were 1 in 86 packs. This was a major change, especially if you compare it to the beginning of the first 4 sets, where now it's almost tripled to pull a special illustration rare. Now let's say you opened a booster box of Paldea Evolved, you were going to pull 1 and sometimes even 2 special illustration rares from a single booster box. I myself have opened about 4 booster boxes of Paldea Evolved, and I've pulled at least 1 special illustration rare from every box, and 2 of the boxes have actually pulled 2 SIRs. Now, Twilight Masquerade and Temporal Forces, on the other hand, you can open 2, sometimes even 3 booster boxes and not pull a single special illustration rare. Because of how difficult it is to pull these cards, it'll quickly drive up the price of the cards. So let me give an example, and let's compare the top chase from Paldean Fates and the top chase from Twilight Masquerade, those being the Charizard special illustration rare and the Greninja special illustration rare. Now, the Charizard SIR has a 1 in 465 chance to pull that from a single pack. That means you need to open 465 packs on average to pull the Charizard special illustration rare. Now the Greninja, on the other hand, has a pull rate of 1 in 941, more than double the pull rate of the Charizard special illustration rare. So what does that mean for the values of the cards? If you look at the Charizard from Paldean Fates, you'll see that at release it was around $185. But within 4 to 5 weeks it had already dropped down to $115, which is close to where it's sitting right now. I think right now it's around $120. Now if you compare the Greninja, on the other hand, which is arguably just as nice of a card, some people have their opinions on whether or not there's too much going on, but honestly the Charizard really has the same problem. But if you compare the Greninja, looking at TCG Player, you will see that the card started at around $130 or $140, and it has since jumped up and down. It went up to $180, it went down to $118, and now it is currently sitting at $240 and continuing to skyrocket. In the current moment, it is the Scarlet and Violet Grail. It is the top chase out of the entire Scarlet and Violet era, and it's not even close. The only card that's even remotely close is the Magikarp from Paldea Evolved, and that card still is $100 cheaper than the Greninja Special Illustration Rare. Now, will this card continue to rise in price? I don't think so long term. I think part of the reason why it's so expensive right now is because people saw the cards that are going to be coming out in Shrouded Fable in August, and since there really is no hype for that set and people don't really seem to be invested in any of the special illustration rares, we're now waiting all the way on to September for Stellar Crown to release to have any cards that could even potentially compete with the Greninja. So right now the Greninja is the big chase. Everybody wants that card from Twilight. Nobody's really paying attention to Shrouded Fable, so people are just going to keep focusing on the Greninja until Stellar Crown comes up with something potentially able to compete with it. Maybe that's the Terrapago special illustration rare. I personally really like that card, but I'm not sure how everybody else feels about it and thinks if it could even compete with the Greninja. I think we'll also have to see it in person to see if it even has a chance. So going back to the Greninja, it has actually been longer than the time it took for the Charizard to drop down from 185 to 115, and the Greninja has actually gone up over $100 in value. This is a pretty clear indicator that the pull rates are making this card pretty expensive. People love the Charizard card from Paldean Fates just as much as the Greninja. Charizard is obviously a very popular Pokemon, so there's nothing to stop it from being expensive, but the Greninja is just not around as much as the Paldean Fates Charizard. Granted, people have had more time to open Paldean Fates, and as Twilight Masquerade continues to be opened by people, the card will come down, but at this point, I do not expect the Greninja to be as expensive as the Charizard. I know a lot of people think that that card will end up being a $60 to $80 card, but in my opinion, the Greninja is probably going to be a $130, $140, $150 card. And I think that is a combination of people liking the Pokemon, the artwork being very nice, but mainly the card is so much harder to pull. If you opened 1,000 packs of Paldean Fates and 1,000 packs of Twilight Masquerade, on average you would pull one Greninja, and on the other hand for Paldean Fates you would pull two Charizards. That really is a testament to how hard the Greninja is to pull, especially when you're considering opening 1,000 packs of Twilight Masquerade. The Obsidian Flames Charizard is another very good example of this, where the chance of pulling the Obsidian Flames Charizard in 1 in 216 packs. That is actually half the amount of packs you would have to open to pull the Paldean Fates Charizard, and honestly the artworks are very similar. The only difference really is that the Paldean Fates Charizard is shiny. But if you compare the prices, the Charizard from Obsidian Flames is about $40, and the Paldean Fates Charizard is nearly $120, so triple in price, even though it's only twice as hard to pull. Obviously people do like the Charizard from Paldean Fates a little bit more, but it being 3 times as expensive is really a testament to how much the pull rates matter when it comes to how much a card is worth. The Obsidian Flames Charizard was very expensive right at release. PSA 10s were selling for $700 to $800. Now the raw copies are $40. That's a pretty easy pickup nowadays. We're a few months past Temporal Forces, and there are still multiple cards above $50 as well. The Raging Bull and the Iron Crown are still doing very well, and again I think the pull rates have a really big effect on this, where you need to open 855 packs to pull a specific special illustration rare from a Temporal Forces pack. So yes, in general, pull rates do seem to affect the values of cards. There will always be exceptions. Some cards are going to feature Pokemon that are just less appealing to people in the Pokemon community, and those cards will fall behind. But even so, if you look at Temporal Forces or Twilight Masquerade, the Iron Boulder and the Sinistra, those two SIRs are really not that popular and are still sitting around $20, whereas if you look at Obsidian Flames, the Rever Room and the Ice Cube special illustration rares are sitting around $2 to $3. So 4 special illustration rares that really aren't that popular but have drastically different pull rates, you're seeing the cards be worth 10 times more in Temporal Forces and Twilight Masquerade versus in Obsidian Flames. Now, does this mean the prices of SIRs from Twilight Masquerade will never come down? Absolutely not. Again, like I said, when other sets like Stellar Crown come out, if there are any cards that can compete with the top chases like the Carmine and the Greninja, prices will come down a little bit, but it's just unrealistic to think that the cards will be super cheap because they're just so hard to pull. People aren't going to open 1,000 packs of a set to pull a card and then go and sell it for $15. The only exception, again, is going to be if it's a special illustration rare that, again, the Pokemon featured is really not that popular, then unfortunately you just got unlucky. But I think these pull rates are a big preparation for some of the upcoming sets next year. We know that there's a Japanese Evolution set coming out in December. We'll probably be getting that early 2025 here in the United States. And there's also going to be a Glory of Team Rocket set that's going to be releasing sometime next year. I assume that these pull rates are going to be similar. Maybe not the Evolution set because it is a high class set. They might have increased pull rates. With big chases like Evolutions and potentially Dark Pokemon, they're going to want these cards to be real chases. So they're really starting to change the pull rates in these sets so that people are going to be really excited when they do pull them in these other sets that people are really, really excited for. So that's going to be it for today. Let me know down in the comments what you think of these new pull rate changes. Did you like being able to open a booster box and pretty much know that you were going to get a special illustration rare? Or are you liking more of the hunt to pull a special illustration rare out of a pack? I'm still a little bit on the fence about it. I do think it's really exciting when you pull an SIR out of a pack knowing that it's super hard to pull, but when you buy 3 booster boxes of Twilight Masquerade and only pull SIR, it's a little frustrating, and this totally didn't happen to me. Stick around to the end of this video if you want to see some close-up footage of the top chases we discussed, like the Paldean Fates Charizard and the Greninja special illustration rare. Alright everybody, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.